So I'm going to be looking at a couple different sources to get some update on the Texas flood, really Texas national disaster. But as far as right now, the latest updates, over 100 dead. That's including adults, at least 30 children, 27 little girls killed at Camp Mystic, along with some camp counselors and other places throughout the country. This is sad. I don't think it's getting enough coverage in the media and social media. This is like crazy. This is like one in every 100 years flood. This is from 5 hours ago. This is gonna say 90 people, but like I said, it's over 100 when you total everybody dead. Over 40 people still missing. We're gonna watch and we're gonna react. Cape Dweller, pray for Texas.
The flooding has killed more than 90 people. That includes at least 27 campers and counselors from the Christian girls' camp, Camp Mystic, which sits along the Guadalupe River. About 40 people are still unaccounted for right now. And Texas Governor Greg Abbott said over the weekend, crews have rescued at least 850 people. And Florida is now saying it is sending its own teams to help out with those rescue efforts. We're also hearing
Out of Florida, they got some crazy people, but they be helping. They be helping when natural disasters happen.
From two brothers who survived the flooding at a different camp in Hunt, Texas.
We jumped up to another bed, like a top bunk, and like our bed starting tipping over, and like we got to the top really quick, and then we like this, and then like one of the walls like fall down.
And CBS News reporter Nydia Cavazos is in Kerrville. That's about 65 miles northwest of San Antonio. Nydia, very good to see you. At this point, there are still 10 girls and one counselor missing from Camp Mystic. What do search efforts look like for them, as well as the others that are still unaccounted for right now?
The search and rescue efforts are still underway across Kern County and the surrounding county.
Like I said, unfortunately, we now know that these little girls are all
counties, and this involves clients. It involves volunteers. They're searching bodies of waters like the stream behind me. It involves volunteers on land, the use of helicopters, drones, and all of this is an effort to find these missing girls that were part of the Christian camp and whose cabins were washed away with the rain and the unexpected and unprecedented.
Look at that. All that happened. Can you imagine in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you sleeping. Within 30 minutes, you go from sleeping to 30 feet of water?
Storms here across the state of Texas. Now, what we're also seeing is that volunteers and some of these agencies are also having some troubles with the search that is underway because of, the weather was one of the factors. It hadn't stopped raining up until today. And so this eases things up for the searchers and the rescuers who are here on the ground at this moment.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a little bit more about that, Nydia. Of course, the threat from storms not over yet. As you mentioned, weather still a major concern. Can you talk to us about some of the weather conditions and other factors residents and crews are facing right now? What are they up against as they try to make their way to save more people?
Well, we heard from local officials earlier this morning, and they described some of those challenges. And first of all, we're talking about a stretch of land that is close to 100 kilometers. And so this is where you have volunteers and multiple agencies involved in the rescue efforts. And this stretches across different counties. And so there is a need for collaboration amongst the counties, amongst the state leaders here, and who are also working with their federal partners. Now, this is what we have on one hand, but on the other hand, now they're also asking for volunteers for help, but they're asking for this to be streamlined with the Salvation Army to take care of these, of the shift of the coordination, because what they've also been running into is that many people have come out here to try and help, but in some instances, they've also gotten in the way of some of these operations that are ongoing. And so there's
a lot of people that's gun-ho. They're like, oh, I just want to go and help. They got all the good intentions in the world, but they just go and then they end up needing rescue because they brought their fucking four-wheelers out and they got stuck because they never been to Texas.
Officials have highlighted that in the case that it continues to rain, which there is some rain in the forecast, they don't necessarily want to devote these resources to now having to rescue the volunteers who were trying to help out initially.
Yeah, very tough dynamic to thread there. Nydia, thank you very much for your reporting. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, we're along the Guadalupe River right now, and you can see it's still rushing, not back within its original banks, but it is receding. That's the good news. This is an area where this water rose more than 20 feet in less than an hour. It reached all the way to the top of the hill and beyond, and getting into areas where it was just too much for residents to bear.
The force of that water was so insane. Nobody could get into it. That my resident, that was the one that called 911. He was trying to get to the family and all the way to water, all the way to his waist, and debris hitting him. And he was yelling, "Please throw me your baby," and they couldn't, and they got swept away.
Looking.
Them and the baby got swept away. And they couldn't throw him the baby. Oh my God. Are y'all hearing this?
Across the other side now, you can see these trees that were snapped. They're pushed over like a row of dominoes, just lining the entire river here. The damage is overwhelming. It stretches for miles. This is the kind of area that rescue and recovery teams are working through right now while keeping an eye on the sky, because the forecast calls for more rain today. The potential for flooding, not like we've seen so far.
More rain. Good story. Oh.
Libby Evans Fuller and Doug Fuller, they survived the flooding in their hometown of Ingram, Texas. Thank you both very much for joining us this morning. Libby, I'll start with you. If you could just tell us, how are you doing this morning and where you're finding shelter right now?
Right now, we're at my in-laws on an air mattress, but we're safe.
I hear that too, Karen, but I think it happened. They said in 30 minutes. They said it was like no sign that this was supposed to happen, and within 30 minutes or an hour, boom, they underwater. Like I'm not even sure if they can get all the kids up, dressed, on the bus, and out. Like they would have been caught in the school bus. The water would came. Whoop. Now the school bus taken. It would have been on top of the school bus. Now they're in the school bus drowning. Like they were in in between a rock and a hard place. I don't know, but I get it too. It's like, damn, they didn't see this. Like once the water started, like we don't even know what they did really or where they was. They could have tried to go and the bus stopped. They didn't. I don't know if they reported how they died or where they died. They could have been on their way to safety, and I mean something happened. But damn. 27.
I'm doing good this morning. This out here is the closest I've been back to it since Friday morning when we got ripped out of our house.
Let's talk more about that, Doug. I understand. I mean, you were essentially swept out of your home. Walk us through exactly what happened and the amazing thing you did to survive.
Well, it started about 4 a.m. and it had been raining a little bit, and I went to go just see how the weather was doing. And at about midnight, there was a motorist on a motorcycle who stopped in to ride out the storm, and I wanted to see how he was doing. And when I got out to the parking lot, we could hear the river, but we couldn't quite see the water yet. When I got back to the house, I noticed it was coming up into the parking lot. I went inside to wake my wife up and tell her we might get some water damage, thinking that maybe our floor might get damaged. And
they didn't even think about that. Like he was just thinking about the floor might be damaged. Like, damn, it's a lot of water. It's an inconvenience. They wasn't thinking the house is about to be under.
And by the time she was done getting dressed, I was watching our car float away. And
so fast.
Right there, perfect. He just said he's not at the camp. He's up. A grown man just sitting there. The water's rising. Like, damn, we might get some water damage. And then he go tell his wife and say, hey, come look at this. We might get some water damage in the kitchen. By the time she get dressed, get to it, boom, the car floating away. So imagine this as a camp counselor, same way. That's crazy, right?
I realized that it was going to be a lot more than just some damage to my floor. And within about 10 minutes, we had water almost up to the ceiling. Wow. We took refuge on our mattress and stayed there as long as we could, not wanting to go out the door, but not wanting to stay in without an exit. eventually the doors burst open, and we jammed ourselves in the doorway as long as we could until eventually a large swell of water sucked us out. And a neighbor who was outside as well were clinging onto a support post in front of our door. And we were able to grab hands, and I was able to grab my wife. And we held on for about the next 2 hours until the waters resided and just rode it out. It was terrifying.
Just amazing. And that you were even with neighbors who were doing the same thing. Libby, I know that you went to work after this whole ordeal. Tell us about that.
I did. Well, I was actually supposed to work a double on Friday, and I was looking forward to it because it was the 4th of July. And, of course, couldn't. All this happened in the morning, but I had
We're at a hospital or something.
had my father-in-law go by work. They had taken that once we got out, once the tow trucks got us to the fire station called the ambulance for me. We called from my in-laws from the hospital, and I asked them to go by my work and let them know I wouldn't be there today. I was at the hospital, and because I didn't know if they were going to be open or closed or what. And I tried when we got home from the hospital. I tried to call work, and they weren't answering. It turns out they had closed. But the next morning, I got up. We went to the Walmart and got me some work clothes, and I went to work the next morning and prepared to work that double because I was scheduled to double again. And I walked in, and nobody expected to see me. I had no idea that there were missing persons stuff going on. I had no idea about any of it. We lost the phones. So I had no idea. But we got there. My boss was like, "What are you doing here?" And it was amazing. We got to take food to first responders. It was great. And I just worked.
Story, she got to work. She probably worked at a diner or something. She was able to help deliver food, but this tell me like this is the extent of the storm. This is affecting paycheck to paycheck people, 9 to 5 working. She was scared she was gonna lose her job if she didn't show up to work. Like the normal person would be like, "Nah, I ain't what doing that." Not a normal person, but somebody in a better financial position would be like, "Nah, hell no, I don't give a hell if they open. My house just got swept away. We almost died." She was afraid that she was supposed to go in, even after a near-death experience. Still went in. Let that sink in. Don't let that go over your head.
Through because, we need my wages right now, and it really, I didn't know how we were going to make it if I didn't start working back immediately to rebuild. What were we going to do?
That
so
says
I
so
just
much.
went, and it kind of kept it off my mind.
That says so much about the spirit of the area, too, that not only did you go to work, but you went to help the first responders who are all trying to make a difference there. Doug, we only have a few seconds left here, but this is the first time you've been back to the scene. Just what goes through your mind when you look around you right now?
I'm really thankful that we made it out, because there's a lot of people that didn't. And the death toll will probably rise, and we might have lost the house and the car and all that stuff, but we still have each other.
Exactly. If you poor, you know love is all you got. If you rich, maybe you worry about the antique and the silver spoons and the forks and grandma's jewelry box. But if you ain't got nothing, you just glad he lived. The amount of parents that are affected by this is like 30 children died at least. Kids, 27 at that camp, and then I know the one guy was looking for his daughter who was visiting from college, and he found a 10-year-old on the ground. I count at least 31, 32 kids that I've heard about.
And that's what's worth all of it right there. This is my rock right here. And that's what keeps us going. And hopefully we can help somehow give back. My father's out there right now with the cleanup effort, and those are the real heroes. Those are the guys that are rebuilding, those guys and the first responders.
Libby and Doug, we're so happy you're okay. Amazing to hear you so quickly after what you've been through, talking about helping other people. We appreciate your time this morning, and we're praying for your community. Thank you.
The comments say, "You can't believe she went back to work. This woman is running on grief and shock." Yeah. Capitalism, the American way, got the medical bills to pay, child's mouth to feed, a couple of huge near $100,000 car loans. So isn't the average car loan like $700 in America? Kind of sickening that even all the money is still most stored when you're there, sweet money, all that. Sometimes the whole, where's all the money Doge found? President Trump got to move. He got to move right now. He got to get the. Hey, see how fast you got the National Guard to LA? You better get them to Texas. In a country when a poor woman who was swept out of her home needs to immediately go back to work double shift to get by. I'm telling you, think about that shit. I know I know I was gonna be the only one to catch that. Like, you went to work? This is crazy. Look at this. 6 minutes ago.
And good evening. We come on the air tonight from Texas's hill country. Just below us is the Guadalupe River, and you can see the destruction it carved out in parts of central Texas. Down there is where the river stands tonight, and we wanted to show you how high it rose, more than 30 feet, even higher from where we are broadcasting live tonight, wiping out everything in its way. And today we were with rescuers digging into mangled cars, caked in mud along riverbanks, crews setting out on airboats and diving into the river, all trying to find signs of life. Survivors trapped, airlifted from their homes to safety. You see it right here. The destruction immense. You can see bridges wiped out completely. And new videos showing the quick rise of the nearby Llano River. This in under an hour. Look at that water rise. Camp Mystic.
Did y'all see that? How fast that rose?
You can see bridges wiped out completely. And new videos showing the
Look at that.
quick rise of the nearby Llano River. This in under an hour. Look at that.
Fast. Don't just look out like the how much water, the volume. Look at the speed. Look how fast that water's going. It'll knock you away. Imagine those little girls in that camp cabin, or an old lady or old man or something. They can't hold on. That water will take them. Dogs, cats.
Water rise. Camp Mystic grieving the loss, and this is hard to say, of 20.
Exactly, Garrett. 7 minutes. Come on, 7 minutes. You gonna get 27 kids up in 7 minutes? I don't know. And then even if you do, where you going? Where you going when that water hits you? When that water hits you, where you going?
And new videos showing the quick rise.
You and 27 and little girls in the car right now going, boom, this water hit you. You now got dead in the car.
Of the nearby Llano River. This in under an hour. Look at that water rise. Camp Mystic grieving the loss, and this is hard to say, of 27 campers and counselors. You can see the heartbreaking images, the high water.
Holy shit. Look how that water went up to the window. That water went up to the damn window. RIP to these kids and these families. That is crazy. You just want to stare at it. It's just haunting. Look at that. All the pink and the bright colors. They're having so much fun.
Water line inside the cabins where children slept. Muddied mattresses, stuffed animals, and trunks all left behind. With so many holding out hope, more will be found alive. Tonight, battling the heat, mud, and misery, they're looking for any signs of life. Search and rescue teams on the Guadalupe River furiously combing through massive mountains of debris. We're in the middle of the river right now, and just behind me, you can see why this search and recovery is so complicated. There are mounds of this mangled steel and tree branches and tree trunks. This team is trying to figure out a way inside to see what, if anything, or anyone is still trapped. An all-out search for survivors by water, air, and horseback. All over this area, you see homes and trailers and RVs with this giant orange X. It means they've been searched. We hope whoever lived in here got out, because you can see what the river water did to this, flipping this entire RV over, destroying everything inside. Volunteer firefighter Wyatt Kelly has been at this for days. What kind of things have you seen out here?
Unthinkable things. I mean, there's things that no one ever would have thought they've seen in their lifetime.
So many people were in their beds, fast asleep, when the floodwaters began to rapidly rise early on the 4th of July. The catastrophic flooding killing at least 104 people in 6 counties, including Julian Ryan, who was with his mother kids, and wife Christina in their trailer, and 4 people.
104 in 6 counties. Are you kidding me? And that's probably not the end. That is the realization we got to have. That's probably not the end. Over the next 2 days, it's going to go up.
In 6 counties, including Julian Ryan, who was with his mother, kids, and wife Christina in their trailer home as the water began to rise.
My husband started panicking because there was no way for us to get out. There was no way for us to get up. And so he tried to bust out the window and sliced his arm almost off.
Christina says he quickly began to bleed out.
What do you remember? I'm so sorry you had to see your son go through that.
I just remember holding him so he would get swept in the flood. Blood going everywhere. His last words to me was, "Mom, I love you. And you make sure you tell everybody else I love you. Love them."
Tragedy also playing out at Camp Mystic.
Damn, man. And we're going to keep hearing about Camp Mystic. That's 27 little girls. Like, you're just going to keep hearing about it. Oh, man.
Which says 27 of its campers and counselors are among the dead and missing. Hallie Thompson's 10-year-old daughter somehow managed to escape from her cabin.
My daughter grabbed onto a tree and grabbed the hand of her friend and put it on the tree. And so one by one, those girls came out and found anything they could cling to.
Hallie and 4 other family members were nearby. Their cabin was also surrounded by water. She says their neighbors saved their lives.
It feels wrong or strange to feel how grateful that I am that we're all alive while we are still waiting for word about friends' daughters, and while we have received word of the friends' daughters who've died.
Lila Bonner, Sarah Marsh, Janie Hunt, Eloise Peck, and twins Hannah and Rebecca Lawrence, just some of the young campers whose lives were cut tragically short.
That's crazy. Look at these little girls. Do a moment of silence for these little girls. Prayers to these and support and the best wishes to these little girls' parents. The strength to go on.
Just some of the young campers whose lives were cut tragically short. Kellyanne Littall is still missing. Her dad posting this video of her solo at a Christmas pageant, asking prayers for a miracle. You can see the flood's devastating toll on the century-old all-girls camp in these images. Look at how high the water came into the cabin. The floodwaters tossing muddy mattresses from bunk beds. This pink trunk with the name L flipped on its side. A stuffed animal left behind. A camp nurse posting this haunting video of some of the little girls singing as they evacuated. The Lord of love has come to me. The 4th of July holiday brought many families to the cabins that dot the river's edge.
We don't know everybody who was here, so we don't know everybody who's missing.
Could be even worse, you're saying?
Yeah, it will be worse. Because we don't know everybody who's missing.
Joe Herring Jr. is the mayor of Kerrville.
Took me completely by surprise. I'm sad to say I didn't know. If there was any way on God's green earth that we could have warned people, we would have done it.
Oh, wait, they knew for a week it was a storm system building up and it was a flash flood.
We did not know.
13-year-old Blair Harbor and 11-year-old sister Brooke were there spending the holiday in a cabin with their parents and grandparents. Their bodies were found 15 miles down the river, together. Their school wrote a, quote, powerful symbol of their lasting bond. Their parents survived, but their grandparents are still missing.
Oh, they got swept away from their parents. Can you imagine the survivor's guilt? The parents survived, but the two kids got swept away 15 miles.
The heartbreaking loss of life, there are also remarkable stories of survival. After this woman was swept 20 miles down the river, she clung to a tree for hours until rescuers and boats were able to come and save her. In
some good news. There we go. Come on.
Hunt, Texas, Diana Smith says she woke up to find her house surrounded by water.
Open the front door and it sweeps both my dogs different directions, and I'm panicking, thinking, now what the hell am I going to do?
She says she called 911, but no one came.
I said a prayer when I was standing on my porch. Both my parents are deceased, and I said, Mom, Dad, God, help.
She managed to jump into a kayak with her dogs, paddling to safety. 11-year-old Kaylin Kubina was at Camp La Junta, 6 miles from Camp Mystic.
We looked outside and we just saw like an ocean out there. It's just like completely destroying everything.
There's people in it. Oh my God, there's so many people in it.
This cabin appeared to float away in the floodwaters. Still, the camp says everyone was able to evacuate to safety.
People inside of the damn house as it's floating down. Can you imagine?
There's people in it. Oh my God, there's so many people in it.
This cabin appeared to float away in the floodwaters. Still, the camp says everyone was able to evacuate to safety.
We saw like a whole cabin just floating down, and that's when we knew like things were getting actually real out there. Like we were starting to realize that this was a real natural disaster crisis.
We were with the Alvarado family as the reality set in. Their two daughters were in this RV when the river surrounded them. These are the images of what they saw outside of their windows.
We couldn't see through the water, but we could see the currents moving, and it just kept going. Like there was no end to it.
Their dad came to their rescue along with a neighbor, pulling the girls to safety. Brooke, the oldest of the two, looking down at the river and realizing how some girls just like her weren't as lucky.
When you guys heard about all the people that didn't make it, I mean, what was that like? I mean, to know that like you were right here.
It hurt. I'm sorry. It just sucks that a lot of people just lost their lives, but it's really good to hear about the people that are getting out and stuff.
So many stories just like that all along this river. And as you heard the mayor say there, so many were taken by surprise. The question tonight, why? And what could have been done to prevent so many lives lost? Ryan Chandler is also in Kerrville tonight along the Guadalupe River banks. And Ryan, the river that everybody loved turned deadly so quickly. What are you hearing from residents on just how fast this turned for the worst?
Yeah, Tom, one woman here told me as late as Thursday evening, with flood watches in effect, people were getting ready to celebrate the 4th of July at the park along this river. Just hours later, it would be completely underwater.
People, like, they didn't realize how fast that was going to happen. They thought, like, it was going to, like, I don't know what they thought. I just imagine for them to do that and still be there with flood watches, they had to think, like, hey, it's nothing serious. Come on, man. We got to take these flood warnings and stuff seriously.
So many people just had no idea what was coming.
What's the point of having better technology and technology that tells us, oh, next year you're going to have this storm if we're just going to ignore it?
Kerrville resident Michelle Pittman had no idea that death and destruction was coming downriver.
You know, this was something that happened that no one was prepared for.
As the urgent search continues, questions and calls for accountability grow about how many in this community were caught by such surprise.
Rest assured, no one knew this kind of flood was coming.
Many questioning why neighborhoods and camps along the Guadalupe River were not told to evacuate earlier.
Very tough to make those calls because what we also don't want to do is cry wolf.
At Camp Mystic, the Texas Lieutenant Governor says campers were awakened only by thunder and lightning. Phones not allowed by camp rules. He's now pushing for state lawmakers to fund more outdoor warning sirens.
We shouldn't have lightning and thunder waking up kids. We should have those sirens. We need to go back step by step,
and look at what happened and why it happened.
The National Weather Service says a flood watch at 1:18 p.m. Thursday was elevated on Friday at 1:14 a.m. to urgent flash flood warnings for Kerr County, sending emergency alerts to cell phones and weather radios. Then at 4:03 a.m., an upgrade to a flash flood emergency. But for so many, those warnings went unheard.
Obviously, most people at 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. are asleep. And so I think we will have a reasonable conversation about, are there any ways to have earlier detection?
Senator Ted Cruz.
I guess, but those like on your phone, when that thing go off, it don't stop till you press it. So I guess, but if you got to be a heavy sleeper not to be awakened by those national things.
Defending the National Weather Service amid concerns of staffing shortages, saying Congress will act.
We did see a lot of people heroically taking kids out of harm's way, but it should have happened earlier. How we make that happen, I think, is a very reasonable discussion.
As so many still grieve, many questioning how to prevent the next disaster. Ryan Chandler, NBC News, Kerrville, Texas.
Damn, you got Texas, you got, North Carolina, you had LA burned down, really. What else is
Tonight, search and rescue efforts.
So when it was at 84 confirmed deaths, they had 56 adults, 28 children. That's past 30 children. 10 girls, 1 counselor missing. Yeah, now it's up to 27. Damn.
Unaccounted for. Camp Mystic released a statement.
So far that it nearly destroyed the 100-year home that this family has been living in. In Kerrville, floods are a part of life. So in the early hours of Friday morning, Austin Donahue thought it was just business as usual.
Heard the water, not uncommon being on the river, and went and ate a piece of pie and drank coffee.
But it didn't take long for that pie to turn to panic.
I knew it was something abnormal when I saw at the level it was at a house roof come by and a car.
Never have I ever seen it this bad. Nothing transpired, nothing ever occurred to where it was a wall of water as the magnitude as it was.
And in the panic of trying to leave the house, Travis's mom slipped and fell and broke her shoulder. She had surgery Monday morning.
And I didn't think it would ever happen to us. But
oh, God, I think at least she lived in Jesus. I thought she was going to tripped and fell, died. Oh, God. Fast recovery.
Of course, you never know. Yeah, it's just devastation.
The aftermath is just that, devastation. The antiques, the family heirlooms, the house that this family has made a home over the past 100 years, destroyed in a matter of moments.
Just having to go into your house and, see, walk on things you love and hearing them break, not being able to see anything, and it's just total loss as to what the problem is, and it's a shock at the time.
But in the face of tragedy, community always shows up to fight. Volunteers from the family's church brought food, water, and helped clean up the devastation that the floods left behind.
It means the world to me. It touches my heart. Just when people come together, it's amazing. I feel the Lord coming through everybody, everything that's happening.
Now, even while my photographer Colton and I were here at the home today, they offered us a plate of food too, and it's that type of kindness that gives the community.
Shout out to Texas.
Had my house been there now, it would not have survived. The fence, I've got some fence left back over here by that hill. Everything else was either severely damaged or destroyed. So starting this afternoon, I actually have heavy equipment coming in. We will start dozing out all that fence. Right over here, do you see the two people standing next to the white truck?
Yes.
That's where my gate was. And that gate withstood with no problem the floods of 69, 78, 87, and 02. No problem.
Not this one.
My gate's gone. My gate is completely gone. Look how, you mean it's twisted?
Right, into the tree.
It is, it is.
That's crazy. Can you be in a place that flood that often that you ever withstood the flood of 69, 72, 87, 97, 02? Like, damn.
Right now, what we need are people to pray for these people, because I personally, I can't imagine what it's going through to not only know that your child is deceased, but they can't find it. They can't find them.
Siphon says, yes, there is a lot of damage here, but they will rebuild and come back.
That's true. Some people like that thought of like the kid don't get a burial. Like, not only are they deceased, but they out there somewhere against a tree, a post, under a car, somewhere that the storm took them.
Response and weather alert systems in Kerr County.
News 4 San Antonio's Jay Avila spoke to officials there in Kerr County. He joins us with the very latest tonight. Jay spent her life helping kids. It's also believed Eads and her husband were spending the holiday weekend together along the Guadalupe River. UTSA says there is also believed to be 2 UTSA students who are still missing from those floods.
And for more on what
they went to the river during the flood warning. Come on.
we know about the victims and those still missing, let's get to Emma Allen with the live.
Beaumont and is set to start 3rd grade in the fall. The school posting on social media saying they lift up Mary Grace as well as others who are still unaccounted for, the victims and first responders, in their prayers. The St. Anne Catholic Church in Beaumont will hold a prayer event tomorrow at 6 p.m. in honor of the victims and those missing. And Robert and Joni Brake, a couple from Abilene, are still missing after the flood. The couple was staying in a cabin for the 4th of July holiday, visiting their son who lives in an RV near the Guadalupe River. When floodwaters hit the area, family went to check on the Brakes in their cabin, but it was washed away by the time they arrived. The son of Robert and Joni asking for prayers and hoping for the best possible outcome. We were told this was the couple's first visit to Kerrville. That is the latest.
Damn, they come to visit their son. They're in the cabin thinking, oh, we safe, just stay in the cabin, we got it, it's gonna pass. And then the whole cabin go.
It's from the live desk.
Well, tonight we are also looking at the flooding in other parts of the state in Williamson County. That's going to be north of Austin. 2 bodies have been recovered there. In Burnett County, which is just northwest of Austin, 4 deaths have been confirmed.
In Travis County, 7 people are confirmed dead. The community of Sandy Creek has also been hit by the recent flooding. One resident, Auburn Gallagher, says she's doing everything she can to support her neighbors. Her community has nothing, she says, and they're almost cut off from the rest of their county.
We had no warning. Nobody notified us. 2:30 in the morning, people that could get out came to this parking lot. Nobody was here. No firefighters, no police, nobody. We did not see Travis County sheriffs until 10 o'clock the next morning, who were rolling through and saying you all need to evacuate.
Their local churches.
What the police going to do? I mean, it's like, I mean, Mother Nature is like an alien came down. What if an alien spaceship, UFOs come down and start attacking people? What the police going to do? Hey, I need to get out of here. They can't do nothing. They can't fight a storm, so they would just, hey, get out. Get out. They were warning.
Serving as a distribution point for water and other supplies that Gallagher and other residents have been able to.
Running out of space for all of the donations that they're receiving. Hundreds of cars lined up to donate even.
They're running out of space. That's dope.
The death toll just rising to at least 104 after the catastrophic flooding on Friday night. The images from inside that camp.
3 mile.
Phones aren't permitted. That's part of why people send their kids to camp, according to this document, right? So they wouldn't have had them next to them, certainly wouldn't have woken them up. Isabel Rosales is out front live on the ground in Center Point, Texas. And Isabel, at this point, we've got these warnings again for tonight of the possibility again of heavy rain, flash. People still
here at this point. The Guadalupe River is to my right over here, but to the left, as volunteers and first responders go through this, searching meticulously, here's what they're finding and laying out on branches: clothing, personal effects left all over the place, and including Central Texas over the holiday weekend. Bursting the seams of the Guadalupe River and taking the lives of at least 104 people. Emergency alert was issued for Kerrville at 5:24 a.m. And then at 5:34, an emergency alert was issued for the Guadalupe River area. But phone alerts were reported.
I don't know. I feel like if they were close to that river and they were camping next to it at 1:14, first emergency alert issue, Kerrville, maybe they should have got up. The councilors probably had their phone, I'm sure. 403 warning, flood emergency warning issue. They should have been up. They should have been up. It should have been about 4:30. By 4:30, they should have been out of there. Yeah. All these emergencies should have been just a precaution. People got complacent. They won't be complacent no more. Something like this got to happen. And now, the first time they get that emergency issue, whoop, whoop, nope. Parents, if we get an emergency while we out here, the first time we get if it's a warning of an emergency, we're not going to move. We're going to keep everybody on standby. Make sure all their items are in the suitcase just in case. But at the first sign of the first emergency alert, we're going to get up. We're going to come far away. We're going to meet at this place. Come get your kid. Y'all should already be there because y'all getting the same alerts. And y'all should already be there with the kids. Take them, boom, boom, boom. That's what's going to happen from now on.
River burst at around 5 in the morning. Then a second emergency alert was issued for Kerrville at 5:24 a.m. And then at 5:34, an emergency alert was issued for the Guadalupe River area. But phone alerts were reportedly not received by some people in an area known to have spotty cell service. 19 different local and state agencies are working urgently to find those still missing. Some rescue teams using the aid of cadaver dogs in their search.
Damn, they're looking for bodies, cadaver dogs. They're looking for bodies.
A man in Center
What up, cave dwellers? What up?
Point, Texas, heard the screams of a young woman who was clinging to a tree after being swept away in floodwater from a camping site.
It was already happening by 4. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. By 1, you should be up. So by that time, by 4 is the first real emergency issue. But you up already. So as soon as you see that water start to I'm like, oh shit, like a toilet overflowing, like that water, you can step on it. It's time to go.
Miles away with her family.
I didn't know that she was in a tree, but as it turned out, I finally spotted her in the tree, and I began to yell back across to her that, "Hey, I see you. I'm going to get help."
And many others have come out to volunteer their time.
Look at that big ass tree. That tree been there for hundreds of years, probably, if not thousands. Look at that tree, the roots. Took it down.
In the search before the next rainfall comes.
I figured I can at least come and help relieve them of some stress and exhaustion. Now, I know that up towards Hunt and everything, they're still expecting possibly more storm surges, so we have to be
That's a big problem.
Yeah, and we have to be on the lookout for that too.
And Aaron, this is rugged, rural, rough terrain for these volunteers, for these first responders. I've seen dangerous debris, down barbed wire that people have stepped on. I have stepped on, but luckily I'm wearing boots. Also fire ants that have bitten up the volunteers. Also, as they're going around, take a look right up there. You see that? That's a paddle boat showing the force of these floodwaters, and also a reminder to look up. Aaron.
Yeah, to look up, and of course, the United Cajun Navy. And Ryan, I appreciate just from the power of the waters to look at the size of that tree next to the removal equipment, just to show the power of that water. What else are you seeing on the ground today, Ryan?
Today it has been. Today was a busy day. We pulled out multiple trailers out of the water, and we have begun planning on. We found an RV that looks like it may be covered with dirt with the whole body underneath there, and so we are planning on getting our tractors out there and dozers to be able to build the roads just so we can get to this and be able to dig this trailer up to see if there's any victims in there. The devastation it's so widespread that. We did about 100 yards a day, and we found these, 2 more trailers, and that's only out of 100 yards that we did.
The magnitude of it is obviously incomprehensible. Standing amidst it as you are, Ryan, is there some moment or some just object that you've seen that just stands out to you right now?
How do I say this? So this morning I got down to the site that we're at down near Center Point, and I turned around a corner and I looked down and there was a stump there, and laying on that stump was a child's Bible, and it had her favorite Bible verses in there, It had scriptures that she had written, notes that she had written to herself. And at that moment, I just dropped to my knees and I cried. I cried for as hard as I could, for as long as I could, just to get it out. The things that we're seeing out here, the amount of devastation it is, no matter if you find a body or not, it takes its toll on you. It's very hard to see for anybody that's out here.
I know that you have seen a community come together.
Yes, that it's hard to say that anything about this is a blessing or that there's anything. It's hard to find the good in something so horrible like this. And the one thing that I can say is that if you're going to find the good in this is you get to see what America's doing for America right here, and Texas is doing for Texas. We've had volunteers from 6 different states that have helped the organization. They are donating tractors. They are donating side-by-sides. They are bringing their boats, horses. I mean, we have had people dropping their lives and promising the next 2 weeks of their life to us. And they said that no matter what happens.
Americans coming together. Do one more.
Tonight, a state in mourning after dozens of Texans are killed in catastrophic
27 little girls.
Floods.
The pain, the shock of what has transpired these last few days has broken the heart of our state.
Survivors rescued share their stories.
Both my parents are deceased, and I said, Mom, Dad, God, help.
And Texans cling to the chance that more survivors could be out there.
And we remain hopeful every foot, every mile, every bend of the river.
WFAA News at 5 begins with Chris Lawrence live in Kerr County.
And tonight, the search for survivors, and as we widen out here, will give you a better sense of exactly how high this river was flowing at the time. You can see some of the sides of some of those trees that were snapped down in the water, and it gives you an idea of how high it's running right now. We know that search teams are still out there. We have seen them all day. They are not giving up, and there is still a desperate search underway for any possible survivors. In fact, Brittany Moncrief just spoke with one family, hoping search teams can still find their loved ones.
It was the first time Robert Brake Sr. and his wife Joni visited Kerr County. Their grandson, Ryan Brake, says they were spending the 4th of July with their son and his wife.
They are patriots through and through.
Robert, an Air Force veteran, and Joni, a registered nurse on the Air Force.
Wake up, you need to get out of there now. Everything's underwater. There's a lot of trouble coming your way.
Would have done things.
Damn, look at that.
Differently.
Every
flash flood warnings again later this year.
City and county officials to use every available resource to expand the early warning system.
Damn, they ain't got like in Jersey when it's a snow day, like the fire department sound the big ass alarm. They don't got that.
She says with the world watching, Texas has to address this issue with urgency.
They have to take a hard look at where can we find this money, but it'll absolutely be top of mind, I think, for our legislators. And if it isn't, there's
floods, a natural disaster.
There's something really wrong with them.
National.
Well, she's certainly not the only one going down this road. In fact, just this afternoon, State Senator Paul Betancourt said he intends to file legislation in this upcoming special session that would require the old school sirens, the physical warning sirens in some of the flood-prone river areas in Texas. And then after that, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said if local officials are not able to afford such a system, he promised that the state would then step in to help pay for it. I want to bring in my colleague, Chief Meteorologist Pete Delkus. Pete, obviously any rain would impact the search and recovery efforts here along the Guadalupe River. Do you expect any more rain?
They always come in afterwards. Somebody already was petitioning for this to be fixed, and they ain't do it. I bet you.
In this area anytime soon.
Well, Chris, right now, finally, things are starting to dry out down in the hill country. You can see Dallas, Fort Worth, Waco, Austin, San Antonio. This is the hill country over here off on the west side, and we still have flash flood watches in effect until 7 o'clock tonight, anywhere from the greater Austin, San Antonio area on off to the northwest up towards San Angelo. But right now, this is Kerr County. There's Camp Mystic right there, all south of I-10. There's some rain off to the northwest at this point, but here's the forecast tonight. There's Kerrville, Camp Mystic right over here. So you can see this whole area finally dries out as tonight moves along. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So after a low chance of rain over the next hour or two, this part of the hill country finally starts to dry out, and that's
crazy. It's not over at all. It's not over at all. It's still, hey, it could flood enough. It could rain enough in the next 2 days for it to happen again.
165 people at Camp Mystic. He escorted 10 to 15 children at a time to military helicopters. He says this is the first mission like this that he's ever done. Thankfully, instinct from rigorous training kicked in. Tonight, his heart is with the survivors.
Real heroes, I think, were the kids on the ground. Like, those guys are heroic, and you know, they were dealing with some of the worst times of their lives, and they were staying strong, and that helped inspire me to kind of get in there and help them out.
Are covering a lot of ground. There's still so much more land that needs to be searched. Tiffany Liu joins us from one of those areas right now.
As well in comfort. I just kind of want to show you the scope of the damage around me. We are on a road that was actually fully covered in water just a couple of days ago. You could see how high this water was. It uprooted these trees, and if you look at the water behind me here, there's still a lot of water, and it's almost up to this road over here. I was told if you look over this way, you see how there's a highway up there. The water was actually almost up over that highway is what locals are telling me at this point. Now, if we cross over this way, you can see there's people who are here.
Mother Nature, he's undefeated. I mean, we could tell, but it's flash. It happened in a second. We can't even get it out fast enough.
Volunteering, this man was over here using his chainsaw to go through some of these trees. They're just trying to help out search crews before search crews even get to this area. So if you look over here, I want to show you, there's a truck right here. There's an orange X on that truck, means it's been checked. I believe that means nobody was inside of it, but you can just see, look how tall, how high up on these trees the damage is. It just shows really how high the water was out here. From the people I spoke with, you guys, there's so much heartbreak in this area, in this surrounding area. All these volunteers just want to help. I did speak with some volunteers, and I asked them, why they were here, and they say this just hits too close to home. For now, let's send it back to you guys.
This dude sitting there, it's probably his truck. And he got to listen to this lady talk about it and make a story out of it and figure out how he's going to get out of there.
Let's bring in Kelly Raybon, whose 2 boys escaped the flooding from another camp about 6 miles north of Camp Mystic. Kelly, thank you for being with us. You're probably still shaking from all of this. Camps are.
Sure. So on July 4th, we received a text that was sent out to all of the parents that said that they had sustained high waters overnight, but that they were trying to keep the campers safe as best as possible. And at that point, you think, okay, well, maybe there's just a lot of rain. But once I turned on the news, and I live in Houston, and so that's 4 hours away from me. So I had to really work to find more information out. But once I saw the statement from Camp Mystic that, if your daughter is okay, if you've not been notified yet, I thought, oh my gosh, this is far more serious than that initial text message would have led me to believe. And then within a couple of hours, I decided I needed to get in the car and go, a mom on a mission to get to my kids.
So
that's crazy. They notified the parents that their children were deceased first, so their hopes wouldn't get up. And then they went back and said, hey, if you ain't been notified otherwise, your daughter's okay. They had to make over 27 phone calls.
I know your sons talked about.
Look at that. Look at it. Can you imagine an 8-year-old or 10-year-old, however old those little girls was? Look at it, goes up to the trees.
Tell us how old your boys are and their names. I know that, they've had enough of talking about this.
And Brock, my just now 7-year-old, turned 7 2 weeks ago. This was his first time to attend camp.
This looked like a bomb hit it.
And, what they said was as the walk in, his brave camp counselors, who were really just kids themselves, college kids, they encouraged the boys to get on the first bunk and then to get on the second bunk. And before you know it, they were lifting the little boys up to the rafters to keep them out of harm's way.
Shout out to those camp counselors, man. They became men today.
Can't imagine how terrifying this was. And it was happening, as it was dark, no power, and you're so unfamiliar in this situation. How do you ever prepare
36 feet in height
for that?
Yeah, we're looking at these charts. It rose 25 feet in 1 hour in the area of Camp Mystic. So how high were they on the top? How high was the water in the cabin? And then did they...
Look at this. Compact car, 5 feet. Stop sign, 7 feet. Single-story home, 10 to 15 feet. Average traffic light, 20 feet. Kerrville, Texas, peak, 23.40 feet. 2-story home, 25 feet. You had to been on the tippy top of your home, your 2-story home, on the top of a church, the very top. That's crazy. So even if you was in a car or whatever, you still getting caught. That's crazy.
How did they get out of there?
And the Huntsville, Texas peak is 29 feet, almost 30 feet. Look at that water level.
So my 7-year-old Brock, he said that the water was probably, he estimated about 3+ feet in his cabin. Now, he is still in a state of shock and kind of slowly processing what all he remembers. But he remembers it being at least high enough to break the window out. And the camp director, Scott, bravely came at the end to get them out of the cabins, pulling them down from the rafters and taking them to safety.
Wow.
Braden, meanwhile, was in
So they had to back up because the water kept going up.
higher elevated cabin.
So I'm grateful that your boys are doing well. And
So it looks like we're kind of
the...
seeing the same pictures now. So I think we got an update. Over 104 people killed. All the little girls at Camp Mystic killed. All 27 of them. Still missing about 40+ people. Oh, God. I keep saying it's the last one, but then it's like you just want to look up more. Like, what the hell happened?
Start with Amanda Henderson, who is in Kerrville tonight. Amanda?
Well, I seen this one, but this is I seen this one. Oh my.
Well, the water, which you can still hear, came in extremely quickly, and trees were snapped like toothpicks. Families saying they really didn't have much time to realize what was going on. That includes Christina Wilson and her fiance, Julian Ryan. They were at their home in Ingram, about 15 minutes from Kerrville, when they say everything happened all at once.
He died a hero, and that will never gone unnoticed.
Through tears and shock, the family of 27-year-old Julian Ryan tells us the father, brother, and fiance died a hero. In the early Friday morning hours, floodwaters suddenly swelled into the home he shared with his fiance and mother in Ingram, close to the Guadalupe River.
And it just started pouring in. We had to fight the door to get it closed just so that too much didn't come in. And we ran back to the room and we started calling 911.
Julian's fiance, Christina Wilson, says after 20 minutes, the water was up to their knees. Julian punching open a window to try and get her, their children, and his mother to the roof.
It severed his artery in his arm, almost cut it clean off.
Christina says they kept calling 911, but no one came in time to save him.
About 6 o'clock, my husband was dead.
Damn, he bled out. I heard the story before, but I ain't never hear her say it like that. He just bust through the window with his hand, probably on some Superman, I'm gonna save my family stuff, and cut his arm. Yo, that's so crazy. You know she's going through all types of stuff. like part of me, part of him was probably like, as a man, like, damn, look, I'm bleeding now. I burst out a window. Like, in hindsight, it's like, damn, homie, like, pick up something. Like, everything that was floating in the house, everything destroyed, you could have picked up something, did it with your boot or something. You bust open a window and cut your artery. I guess he was just scared and just went like, just maybe the water was just flowing and he had to just act fast. But damn, you cut yourself and just put the tourniquet on, I guess. God, that's so avoidable.
Lost all of it, all his blood. He looked at me and the kids and my mother-in-law and he was like, sorry, I'm not going to make it. I love y'all.
Christina says she found her fiance after the water receded, but his body wasn't recovered for hours. Now, loved ones remember the man they call a hero.
He was the hero out of this story.
Especially when they told him my brother is dying. They should have went to him first. I mean, that's how I see it.
He's just the kindest person I've ever met in my life, and I will forever love him no matter what.
The four stand together, saying more needs to be implemented to never let this happen again. All four of you, do you guys think that flood sirens would have saved lives in this situation?
Most likely.
Yes. Yes.
They would have been, everybody would have been worried, what's that noise, what's that noise?
We would have left. We would have went anywhere else. We have so many places we could have gone that were safe.
In Kerrville, I'm Amanda Henderson, KHOU 11 News.
When like the most devastating thing like in the world just happened. Like to just be that strong enough to just stand here. Her partner just don't go on in front of her deceased, died, bled out. She got to sit here and get this interview. I guess you want to like tell how much of a good man he was and what he did, I guess. Yeah.
Doing his best, fighting to save his loved ones, not making it. One of the many tragic stories tonight.
A final act of love.
Okay.
Facts. Well, cave dwellers, that's what you got, man. Man protected their family. God bless you and your family. He died a man. He died a father. He died a husband. May his soul rest in peace. May the rest of the people's souls rest in peace that have been impacted by the storm, that will be impacted in the future. May God, the universe, keep them wrapped in their bosom right now. Especially these parents. Let them think, let them be able to think clearly. If they got other kids, let them be able to, snap back for those kids and be right and don't blame themselves in any sort of way or anything like that, which probably going to be, harder said than done. Let me know what y'all think, cave dwellers.